The only thing worse than being paralyzed and trapped inside your own skull, unable to move or speak, was being kept like that by your own brother and sister. For 8.5 endless, insanity-inducing months, Thanatos, fourth horseman of the apocalypse, had been kept in a bed with nothing but a TV for company. Well, every 12 hours he was visited by someone from Underworld General Hospital to inject him with paralyzing hellhound saliva, change his hydrating saline IV bag, and give him a humiliating sponge bath before changing his sweatpants. But usually whoever visited was wham bam thank you ma'am and all business. And sure, his sister, Lemos, third horseman, and Ares, second horseman, hung out with him, but Ares wasn't all that talkative. Lemos was a chatterbox, but Than didn't really give a shit about what color nail polish she'd put on that morning, or how she and her husband, a human named Eric, were planning a European honeymoon after the apocalypse was over. And seriously, a honeymoon? Wasn't it a little late for that? And it wasn't as if Lemos didn't live on an island paradise anyway, so every freaking day was a honeymoon for them. Bitter much, Than boy? Yeah, there might be some jealousy there. Because as sick as it sounded, the one thing that had kept Than sane over the thousands of years he'd been alive was the fact that Ares and Lemos were as alone as he was. But now Ares and Lemos were both married and happy, and he was left paralyzed, miserable, and ripping a massive hatred for the female who had put him here. Regan. Ever since he'd been cursed as the horseman who would become death when his seal broke, he'd believed that his seal was his virginity. He'd guarded his dick like it was the freaking Hope Diamond. He might have been an unpinned grenade ready to blow with sexual need, but damn it, he'd kept himself all virginal and shit. Until Regan came along, with her seductive body, her devious plot, and her drugged mead. She'd managed to get him naked, get him immobilized, and get him off. The why of it still wasn't clear, since not once, in all of Lemos's and Ares' ramblings, had they brought up the Aegis Guardian. And the fact that she was a guardian, one of the human warriors who existed to rid the world of demons, only made her actions more mystifying. Guardians didn't want to start the apocalypse, so either she was secretly working against the Aegis, or she hadn't thought that fucking him would break his seal. But if it was the latter, why had she gone to extremes to get him in bed? As a larger-than-life legend, he might have starfucker appeal, and sure, he knew he was handsome, but resorting to drugs and her supernatural ability in order to get what she wanted? Fury slithered through him, as hot as the lust he'd felt when he'd been beneath Regan, her wet heat clenching around his cock. God, it had been good. For centuries he'd fantasized about being with a female, had imagined all the ways he'd take her. His favorite fantasy had always been with her on all fours, and him mounting her from behind, his chest sealed to her back by their sweat, his weight holding her steady for his thrusts. For these past months, when his mind had drifted to sex, Regan had been that female on her hands and knees. His cock jerked in response to the direction of his thoughts, pissing him off. His dick had no business getting hard for her, and on his arm, his stallion, Styx, kicked, sensing his master's emotions. The horse, currently in a tattoo-like form, had been stuck on his skin, as paralyzed as Than had been. Wait. His cock was hard, his horse was stirring, which meant the hellhound venom was wearing off. Thanatos' heartbeat went double time as hope shot through him. Maybe his siblings were finally allowing him to be free. Oh man, if so, he had serious plans. First, he was going to kick Lemos's and Ares' asses. Then he was going to have sex. Lots and lots of sex. Before Regan, avoiding sex hadn't been difficult because he hadn't known what he was missing. But now he knew, and his body craved it almost as much as it craved revenge. And wasn't revenge going to be sweet? He couldn't decide if he was going to kill Regan or fuck her. Maybe both. Not in that order, though. He wasn't a complete sicko.